Hello, I'm Kelly and welcome to my Flosstube channel, Animal Instinct. Today is the 4th of October 2021 and I'm here with another cross-stitching update. Thanks for stopping by and spending some time with me. Today's video is not going to be like my normal ones, so normally I'd be sharing progress on lots of different projects that I've worked on over the course of a month or so, but I decided to devote September to one piece. So today's video is I'm going to show you how much progress I managed to make on that one piece. I filmed a vlog at the end of each week, so I'll pop those in shortly. I'll show you where I'm up to, and then I thought just to pad the video out a bit more so it's sort of actually long enough to publish, I might spend some time, once I have shown you all my stitching, just having a chat about the piece, about the artwork, the TV show it's based on, and I was a bit overwhelmed when I received the kit in the mail, so how I kind of dealt with that, how I prepared to start it, and sort of my approach to stitching on it and how that's changed since I first started. So I hope some of you enjoy that, and if you're just here for the stitching, then that's what I'm going to start with. This is the piece I'm talking about. This is Firefly, artwork by Jenny Parks, and it's a Gecko Rouge kit. It's my largest WIP by far. The stitch count is 1065 by 700 stitches, so there are 745,500 stitches in the piece, and there's 132 colours, so it's a big one. I think it's equivalent to a supersized Haid, thereabouts, maybe a touch bigger, but yeah, it's large. It's going to keep me going for a long time. So I had a bit of a reality check earlier this year when I looked at the pace that I've been working on it at and how long it would take me to finish if I continued at that snail pace. So I set myself a challenge earlier this year to stitch 5,000 stitches on it. You can hear Reggie eating there, apologies. And so I have done that for the last 3 months. I think I've done 5,000 a month, and then I was like, hang on, I need to up my game a bit more, so decided to devote a whole month to the piece. I didn't think I could manage to work on one piece for a whole month, but really surprised myself and loved it, didn't want to put it down. I did a little bit of work on the Witchy Stitcher Cryptid Stitch Along as well, but hardly any because I just didn't want to stop working on Firefly, which is pretty great. I will apologise that I barely made it onto Instagram the last month. So my shiny September stitching, I need to go and check out everyone who's contributed to that. So massive apologies, it's just been again one of those crazy months. I did get lots of stitching though. I'm going to pop a photo in of where I was at the start of the month. And I decided to set myself, oh, now both of them are having afternoon tea. Great timing. Anyway, I decided to set myself 3 goals at the start of the month. So one of them was to stitch 20,000 stitches on the piece in September. I decided on 20 because I've been counting my stitches this year, and my average stitch count per month has been between 10 and 26,000. So I thought 20 was not easy, but hopefully achievable. Another goal I set was I'm working my way down, focusing on that one cat, and I wanted to get all the stitches done above the last row of pages so that I just have, I think it's 3 pages down the bottom, 3 or 4 pages left to stitch. And then the third goal was just a fun one to try and make it down to the very bottom of the project, because the cat I'm focusing on does go down to the bottom. I thought that was a fun thing to aim for. And then partway along the month, I had a look at my pattern keeper that I use to stitch it with, and I was at 9.5%. So because it's a large one, 1% takes a long time to get to. It's about 7,500 stitches. So I added a 4th goal to reach 10% on the whole piece. So what I'll do now is insert some videos I filmed at the end of each week in September. at the end of a night stitching, so the lighting's a bit off and I'm holding my phone in my hand, so it's a bit wobbly, but I hope you enjoy seeing how it came together. It's the 7th of September 2021 and I'm finally checking in with my shiny September stitching. I have little Reggie on my lap here. If you watched any of my Stitch Mania videos from last year when I did the Whip Mania, this was the view I think most nights. He had just come to live with me and he just hopped on my lap every night and he still does. So hopefully I've put in a photo of where I was at the start of the month, but I thought I should do an update because I've been working on this for a week now. I've got 3 goals for the month. One is to complete 20,000 stitches. 2 is to get to the last row of pages. Now the gridding you can see are actually the page lines, and this is the marker. Once I get down onto this page, we're at the bottom of the project. So I would like to fill in all of these stitches. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. And my 3rd goal is to actually make it to the bottom of the piece. So I think I've done about 5,000 stitches this week, which means I'm on track, if I can keep this up, to make 20,000 stitches in the month. I've had a really hectic week this week. I have not been on Instagram at all. I need to post on there still. I haven't even posted this month. But I knew this week was going to be really busy, and then I think things calmed down after this week and I should have a bit more time to stitch. But somehow I have made my 5,000 stitches this week. What I also couldn't help doing, excuse the handheld camera, hope it's not too wobbly. I worked my way down. Now you can see this grid line here is the bottom of the piece. I'm 6 stitches from the bottom. That's my 3rd goal, to reach the very bottom of the project. And I just can't quite get my needle in there comfortably. So I'm not quite at the bottom, but what I've decided to do is just to keep stitching up here, and probably when I've gotten to maybe this line, I'll move everything up. I'll take everything off of the Q-snap, move it up, and then I'll be able to access that the bottom there. So almost there. What else can I say? So I've been sticking to, sorry for the really bad lighting too. I'm stitching, so the width of the cat, and I'm focusing on 20 deep stitch rows. So I try and complete all the stitches in a row before I start a new thread outside of that that strip. Now I have deviated a little bit from that because as features come up, I just want to keep stitching them. So I did that with the cuffs of his sleeves and also with his paws. With this paw, there's about, I think there's maybe 5 symbols to stitch still, but most of them have only got a handful of stitches, and then the vast majority of this is 1 symbol. So I'm hoping I will be able to complete that paw on the weekend. If I come back out a little bit. So I've been focusing on this strip across here, and obviously I've come down underneath as well, and I've just got 1 row here, and then I've got one stitch in there, and then I'm done with that row, and I'll come down into this row and I'll focus getting this done. Now I have left this bit here. That's actually some background. So his arm and his paw are held away from his body. So I'm going to leave that for now. It's really easy to tell what is him and what's the background. And once I've finished stitching him, I'll fill the background in. I'm going to do 2 strands of thread and tent stitch for the background. All of this is 1 strand doing full crosses, and you can see some of my pin stitches where I've finished. Sometimes they hide really nicely, other times they're more obvious, but like it's all going to get stitched over, so I'm not too concerned. As long as I sort of finish the stitch in a stitch that's going to be either the same colour or darker, I don't really mind what it looks like because it gets covered up. I've been really enjoying pulling this out each evening. I haven't felt the urge to stitch anything else yet, but we're only 1 week in, so we'll see. I think, let me just have a look at the image. Yeah, I think his shirt, I've been stitching his shirt like all year, his shirt and his jacket. Cap hair, go away. And I think his shirt finishes on about here. And then the last of it is his trousers. So yeah, from here down is his trousers. So yeah, that is week 1. Again, sorry for the really bad lighting. It's quite late at night and can't really get it to look any better than that. And I will check in again in another week. We'll see how far we get. If I can do 5,000 stitches, I think I definitely get this row finished, and I'll be down into this one. So that will be the end of 2 weeks, which means at the end of 3 weeks, I should be down here, which means I should definitely get into, if I can keep my pace up, I should get into this bottom row of pages in the last week of September. Actually, just one other thing. All of this area, there's a little bit of confetti, but there's a big chunk, this sort of reddish browny colour, there's a big chunk of solid stitching, like thousands of stitches in here. So if I'm feeling like I just want to get stitches in, I'll focus on there, but otherwise I'll just keep going across in my rows. So that is Firefly, end of week 1, September, shiny September stitching. See you next time. It's Tuesday the 14th of September, and I've just finished week 2 of shiny September stitching. I am really pleased with how far I've come. I have stitched over 5,000 stitches this week, so I'm on track, and I think I'm up to about 10,500 stitches for the month so far. So again, excuse the handheld wobbliness. But I'm so happy to have finished both paws. Doesn't that look amazing? Feels sad that I'm gonna fill it in. I just want it to stand out, but anyway. And then, yeah, and the other paw. This, I'm just working on a little clip on his trousers, and there's holding his suspenders up. And yeah, I'm definitely down into the pants now, into the trousers. I've got a little bit of the shadow of this paw to go. I really hoped that I would have done, so again, I'm doing the 20 stitch deep, so red line to red line sort of rows, focusing on getting those done. And I really hoped that I could finish this one, but I didn't quite get there this week. That is all one colour, so that won't take long to fill in, and the rest plenty of colour changes, but I'm really close. And I think the fact that I've come down here and stitched so much below it sort of probably means that I have really stitched the equivalent of finishing that line. So going into week 3, I should be well and truly into this section. I think it comes down to here, so I'm not worrying about this bit at the moment. And I think I worked out this row is about 3,500 stitches, so I really should be able to do that this week, next week I guess, which again, like I said last time, should get me into this last row of pages for the final week of September. I haven't done any more down here. I haven't moved the Q-snap yet either, but yeah, I probably need to do that soon because I am coming down. I've been following some colours down towards the bottom, and it would be easier if I had a bit more room to move, so I might move that this week. But yeah, there's my update. I didn't really realise how much I'd done until I looked at the photo from last week. I'm still really enjoying predominantly working on this one piece. I've spent, I think, 2 stitchy sessions in total working on my Cryptid Sow by the Witchy Stitcher. But otherwise, just been happy plugging away at this one, and it's really cool to be kind of done with the shirt. I think there's a belt that comes across here, so there will be similar, I think there's similar colours or maybe more dark browns. But yeah, now we'll see the trousers come to life. All right, we'll see you again in another week. It's Tuesday the 21st of September, and I'm just finishing week 3 of Shiny September stitching. I can't remember where I was a week ago, but you will have just seen that. I'm on track with all my goals. I've stitched over 6,000 stitches this week. I'm into that bottom row of pages, and I don't have a spare hand to point anything out, but down to the bottom right you can see some brown stitches down the bottom. That is the bottom of the project. So that's one of my goals. My other goal was to complete all the stitching on this cat above that last row of pages, so I've met that goal as well. My last goal was to stitch 20,000 stitches for the month. I'm not there yet, but I think I'm at about 17,000, and I've still got 9 days to go, so I'm well on track to do that as well. I love how his pants are coming along. They look great. And I'm working on his holster at the moment, and still that never-ending jacket. Another milestone I've reached this week is 42,000 stitches this year. So that's a lot. That's more than I've done any other year working on this piece. I've stitched, at the moment we're at 70,848 stitches, which is 9.5%. So hoping to get to that 10% as well. Let's add in another goal, why not? I won't be finishing this cat this week, but I'm confident I'll be able to finish him very soon. Now the reason it's moving a little bit is because, like always, I have a little friend on my lap. So on the right, his jacket, there's big blocks of stitching. I alternate between that and the stitching on the left is a lot of colour changes. So it's kind of it's a nice mix. So I think that's all for today. And I guess we'll see you in another week, which will be the 28th and almost the end of the month. So I wonder how far down I can get by then. It's the 28th of September, and this is the end of my 4th week on this piece. I wasn't going to film tonight, but I realised there's still a couple of days left in September, and then I'll probably keep working on it for a couple of days into the weekend when I'll film my Flosstube update. So I thought it was worth doing one last update before I get to the weekend. Look how he's coming along. It's amazing. This is the bottom of the project. I'm so close. This is the last 20 stitch deep row, and then this is just a 10 stitch deep row. So I've just finished this one tonight, and now I'm going to tackle it slightly differently. I think I'm just going to work my way across completing it as I go. We'll see. I can't get it finished by the weekend, I don't think. I would love to. I'm so close, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I've had a bit of a funny week stitching wise. I've had the lowest amount of stitches followed a couple of days later by the most amount of stitches in one day this month. So one of the days I did 68 stitches and I fell asleep mid stitch one evening. Had to drag myself off to bed. And then a few days later, it must have been on the weekend, I managed about 1900 stitches. So it's very much hit and miss. The next 2 days, Wednesday and Thursday, are going to be low stitch days because I go into the office on those days. I get home quite late and I'm always a bit weary. So, and I won't be doing any stitching at lunchtime. I've managed to get a little bit in at lunchtime when I'm at home too. I'm not sure if you can hear my stomach grumbling. Apologies if you can. What else to say? So I have now stitched 50,000 stitches on this piece this year. I have stitched 24,000 of those this month. So it goes to show when you put your mind to something, it's really satisfying to see the results. And I'm just really curious to see where I'm at. I think I'll probably film on Sunday. So we'll see where I'm at on Sunday when I show you, do the big reveal, I guess. We'll see you then. All right, so I hope you enjoyed that. The last video was on the 28th of September and I just decided to keep stitching because I was having so much fun. And so it's the 4th now. So I haven't stitched on it today, but I did stitch on it yesterday in the first few days of October. So let me show you where it's up to. Okay, now you've probably seen his face before. It's the most impressive part, I think. And ta-da! I have completely finished him. So I'm so thrilled. I can't believe how much progress I made in a month. Let me pop the starting picture up next to it so you can see. I've pretty much done from the bottom of the cuffs down. So it's looking a bit, this part's looking a bit funny because it's there's kind of like smoke behind all of them. And that's swirling around at the very bottom of the piece as well as behind them. So that's why it looks a bit odd, but the detail is incredible. Look at his holster here with the holes in it, the button, his little suspender clip. I just think it's amazing. I love it. The paws, there was a lot of colour in those paws, but you know, the effect is absolutely worth it. So let me show you again. Oh, he's getting so big now. So that's the bottom of the piece. Goes up as high as that. So that's the very top. So there's 3, just excuse the chair sliding. Yeah, there we go. Okay, I'll just come back in. It's getting hard to show actually. But yeah, so there's 3, you can see I've actually gridded the pages. So that's a page, yeah, that's a page, and there's another page, and then that is the top. And that's all background above. I think that I will focus on some background now. I've spent quite a long time, like all year, on him. So I think I should split up my time between characters and background. I'll just show you the full piece again. If you haven't seen my videos before, it's being stitched on 25 count Lugana. The cats are being done 1/1 full cross, and where there's clear background I am stitching 2/1 tent stitch, which is what I'm going to do in here and up here. So my plan is, sorry, oops, I've sort of come to there, I think. So I want to keep going up as much as I can. I've done a little bit of this one's sleeve. So I think once I get up, I will work on him. This is Simon, because I prefer to work on the cat's top to bottom. So I think Simon will be my next focus after I've done a fairly hefty amount of background. Yeah. I can show you on Pattern Keeper what it's looking like so far. You can get a bit of another feel for how much I've done and how much I've got to go. And there it is, whoops. So that is 11.06%. Now, as for my goals, obviously I met the goal of reaching doing all the stitches above the last row of pages which come along here. What were my other ones? Hit the bottom, yes, very much so. I made 10%. I definitely made 20%. So I've got my numbers here. I stitched 25,164 stitches in September, and then I did about another 3,500. I had a very big stitching day on the weekend because I really wanted to finish him. Yeah, so 3,500 in the first 3 days of October. That means this year I've stitched 55,000 stitches, and in total on the whole piece I think I've done around 82,450 stitches altogether. So very, very happy that I managed to stick with it all month. At no point did I feel like I wanted to be working on anything else. I am going to catch up on the Witchy Stitcher Cryptid Stitch Along now, and also my temperature typography piece as well, but I'm itching to come back to this. So let me just show you one last time. There he is in all his glory. If I can find a photo of the actual captain that he's based on, I'll pop a pic in as well. All right, so that's kind of the stitchy stuff out of the way. So I'm just going to have, a bit of a chat about the piece now. So if you're not interested, won't be offended if you want to head off. But if you're interested, hang around. So I'll just show you the artwork again. I realise that not everyone will know or get this. That's fine. You might be wondering why I'm stitching a heap of cats in clothes in space. So I will take the time to explain it. Jenny Parks is the artist, and her style is taking characters from pop culture like TV shows and movies and reimagining them as cats. It's a bit of a niche, and it's just quirky and fun. So she's done heaps of them. So I've seen X-Files, Stranger Things, Spider-Man, Batman, Lord of the Rings, all the Star Wars characters. I just saw Venom. That was pretty cool. Heaps and heaps, and this is kind of what she comes out with. And the cats themselves look quite realistic. It's just that they're wearing clothes or various outfits. If you know the reference, you can probably pick it. So with this one is based on a TV show called Firefly. Highly recommended if you can get your hands on it. It's really fun to watch. It's a great show. There was only one season filmed, sadly. And there was a follow-up film as well, but really it could have done with, multiple seasons. Firefly is a sci-fi show. It's set in space. Various worlds have been colonized, so I guess it's in the future. Space travel is the norm. And Captain Malcolm Reynolds here captains the ship, Serenity. Serenity is a Firefly model spaceship, so that's where the name comes from. He puts together a crew of interesting characters to man his ship, and they're basically just trying to make a living, trying to make some money any way they can. So they take on odd jobs for various, usually criminals. They occasionally will have paying guests. So this fellow here is a mysterious paying guest. So is this one. And then it turns out his sister is on board too. She's got special powers and is being hunted, and it's all part of it. But all of the characters are really, really well developed. You learn to really love them. You get to know them. They get up to all sorts of mischief, and it's also very funny. So yeah, if you can find Firefly, it's worth a watch. I'd recommend it. If I can find a photo, I'll put one up of the cast so you can see how she's got her inspiration, or at the very least I'll pop one up of the captain here. So he's played by Nathan Fillion, who is of Castle fame. But that's the background to this piece. And when I saw it, I just knew that was the one for me. It's going to keep me busy for a long time. So like I said, it's huge. It's 1065 by 700 stitches. So on 25 count, it comes out as 42.6 by 28 inches. When I got the kit, well, firstly the fabric, I just couldn't believe how much fabric there was. I got a paper pattern, which I've got here, 162 pages. I did not have Pattern Keeper when I first started it. And then the threads are just something else. So they come in the usual Gecko Rouge way. On thread cards. Excuse the little tatty scraps left over, but that's how they come. And I realized this is cardboard. I was a bit concerned about longevity, given that this is going to take me a long time. So I transferred them onto these plastic thread card things. I'm not 100% happy with this because I think I've stuck the symbol and numbers on here just with sticky tape, and I reckon that will fade over time. So if anyone has any other ideas of how to store the thread long term, probably not bobbins because I've already snipped them to the length that I want, which will make bobbinating not much fun and take too much time. So these are okay for now. I like being able to just tease one thread off at a time as I need it. But I'm just concerned that I'm going to lose the symbols, which could be a disaster. I have thought about just making up a master set and labeling, like, you know, like the blue one has numbers 21 to 40 on it, something like that, just as backup, but open to other suggestions. I ordered a bespoke bag from Taryn at Teaser Handmaids that holds all my thread. And as well as the thread cards, which is a lot, there's a lot of extra thread as well that won't fit. And I've already had to dive into, I think, 3 of these to get extra. There's so much. Anyway, thread storage solution suggestions, welcome. Now the fabric, I wanted to protect the edges because I'll be working on this for such a long time. One of the edges is the selvage, so that's reinforced anyway. And I don't have an overlocker or a serger, and I just felt like a zigzag stitch might not be enough, because I knew when I started this would be like a 10+ year project. So I did something a bit odd, and it seems to work. I've just sort of put calico around the front and back just to protect the edges, so that's working well for me. What else? Then I had the grand idea, I don't recall why. I did this, it took me a long time, but I decided I wanted to grid the pages. As you could see before, there you go. So the red lines are in the fabric, they're 20 by 20 stitch squares. And I've gridded the pages as well using Sulky Sliver, which is a metallic thread that your needle won't go through. If you use normal cotton thread to grid, your stitches will get caught up in it and it's quite hard to remove. This is easier to pull out. I probably wouldn't do that again because it took days to do. It's 162 pages. So long time, a lot of being very careful. But it's actually a really good landmark when I'm stitching. I can see on Pattern Keeper the pages. I don't use the page line feature on Pattern Keeper for any others, but I do on this one. So like if I'm stitching here, I can be like, okay, well, that might be the, I don't know, 6th stitch along in the 10 by 10 square, but it also should be the first stitch on a page, that sort of thing. So that's really handy, but time consuming. You've got to weigh up the pros and cons of doing that. What else? Starting. Now, normally I would start in the top left of the piece, which is up here. This is such a big piece of fabric. I didn't fully trust my ability to count accurately back then. I probably would now, but back then I was just a bit nervous that, say I miscalculated and in 10 years I got to here and the fabric cut off. It would just be a devastating mistake, and I have seen people reporting that that's happened to them. So I wasn't willing for that to happen. And the other reason I didn't want to start in the top left was I could see it was going to take me years to reach any features, and I didn't want to get bored. So while the background is definitely important, I didn't want to start there. So I started right in the middle, which I think was his sleeve here, Simon's sleeve. Oh, let me find that on my stitching. And you can see I did like the page. I probably wouldn't do that now, just to avoid the possibility of having lines in my work when I'm done. But, oh, Reggie, sorry, Reggie's playing with the tripod. Anyway, I don't seem to have that problem. I've never had that problem of having lines in my work before. We'll see when I get to it. But once I finished that page, I'd done a little bit of him already, and I decided to keep moving over. And then I hit his eye and was just like, oh, this is amazing. So I decided to stick with his face. I generally will stitch cross country. I think I possibly even tried parking on this one. I've tried it on lots of different ones and I just can't get on with it. So I've given up on parking, definitely a cross country girl. But what happened was I was finishing this sort of top part of his face and it was just full of ninja stitches. So I'd have to start the thread, stitch one stitch or maybe two, and then end the thread and then start the thread somewhere else. I usually only carry it about 10, probably about 10 stitches max. And honestly, I thought it was never going to end. I think around that time I also got Pattern Keeper, so I moved from the highlighting the paper pattern to using the app, and that changed things a lot, but still that was hard work and I didn't want to be left with an area that big with so many holes to fill in as I carried on. Once I had finally finished his face, I decided just to focus on this cat, and so this year I think I might have started about there this year, and I've done all of that this year. And I kind of experimented because I just didn't want to, I didn't want to have all those ninja stitches to deal with again. And I just played around and I've settled on an approach that's working for me. I probably mentioned it in the vlog. I think the first vlog I sort of said my approach, but if not, I'll just repeat it here again anyway. I'm defining my sort of area of focus. So width-wise, it was the width of the cat, no matter what that was. And depth-wise, because these are gridded in 20 by 20 squares, I thought that was an easy reference point. So width of the cat and a 20 stitch deep row. And I would just focus on finishing that row. So working my way down. My pretty much only rule would be don't start a new thread outside of the row that you're focusing on. So I could happily stitch down below it if I already had thread on the needle, and I did that all the time. I didn't stick to strict 20 by 20 rows. I sort of meandered down as it made sense to do so. And then once I'd finished all the stitches in the row, then I would move down and focus on the next one. Work my way across and then down, and that worked really well, really well. So it allows me to stitch cross country like I like, but I get to see the picture coming together really nicely, and I'm not left with masses and masses of individual stitches to pick up at the end. I think that's everything I have to share today. So happy with this, with this month's stitching. I'm hoping I can do this again at some point next year, because maybe I could get that other cat done. He's only smaller. He's quite a bit smaller, this one, compared to him. So we'll see. If you've got any questions about this piece, feel free to ask. I'd be happy to answer any. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again soon, who knows when, with another regular stitching update. See ya.